It is day 10 of the Run It Up challenge. Today is December 23rd, and let's hop right in. So, I'm giving you a sneak peek here. What I wanted to do in today's episode was recap last night's lineup, which was good enough. Did a number for us last night, and then we'll get into tonight's slate. I believe there's 11 games tonight, so there's a lot to go through. I can tell you already that it is going to come down to tip-off time for this final lineup, and may even have to prepare for some late swaps because there is a ton of questionable players tonight. So we're really going to have to wait up until the last minute before we get our lineup in, which is, one of the difficult things with the NBA. So be aware of that. I would suggest following me on Twitter. It's at RickRunGood. I will be around to make sure we get a lineup in on time, and I will tweet out the final lineup so you guys know who we're rooting for, and any analysis or any news that comes down will also be found there. So let's start with last night's action, which we did pretty well again. So 241 points, as we always talk about. Getting to 5 times value would have been 250. So we had a good night. And just how good of a night did we have is, if you were paying attention, I gave you a sneak peek. But it was another clean... Oh, flip it here. Here it is. It's actually another clean sweep. We cashed in the GPP, and we won all 7 of our heads-up matches. So... as you can see, the last 2 days have been really good. The ones that you're seeing that are zeros don't even pertain to the Run It Up challenge. So basically everything that is on this project has cashed the last 2 nights out. So very happy about that. Obviously going 14-0 over a 2-day span in heads ups is awesome. More importantly, it has boosted our bankroll back above what we started with. So we dug out of the hole on day 1. We fought back, and we are now at $107 even. No, 107.50. I have it on my other screen here. So that is just really quick. We've spent $66 on total entries. We've won $73.50, which is a profit of $7.50. The bankroll is again $107.50. So here we go. We're grinding it up now, and we'll see how long it takes to do this, but 10 days to go 7.5% of your bankroll, we would take that every single 10 days, or 9 days really, because this is day 10. So we would take that every single time with good bankroll management and all that good stuff. So tonight, what we're going to be able to do is, because we can now bet $10, is we're going to be adding another heads up. So we'll do a $2 GPP, and instead of 7 heads up matches, we will do 8. So here we go, guys. We're gearing up, and hopefully we continue to trend in this right direction. So how did we do it, and what was the final lineup? So if you were paying attention yesterday, we made excuse me, we made 2 separate lineups yesterday on the video. The first one included LaMarcus Aldridge, Marc Gasol, and Kyle Korver, who were 3 guys that I really liked. But then in between the time where I started saying I really liked Aldridge and the time where I came back and actually completed the lineup was Aldridge became questionable. He had an illness. Well, he ended up not playing. So what we did in the meantime to prepare for that is I made basically what I called a pivot lineup, which is what you're looking at right now. And this pivot lineup was the lineup that we were going to go with if LaMarcus Aldridge did not play. So about, I don't know, I want to say 6:30 Eastern. Contest started at 7. About 6:30 Eastern, I saw the news that Aldridge was ruled out officially. So I quick tweeted out, Aldridge is out. We're going to go with the pivot lineup. Hopefully you guys were aware of that, able to catch on and follow. And this was the final product. So because we were able to remove Aldridge from the lineup, we got rid of some of the lower tier guys and ended up with a pretty solid squad here. So just to roll through it, the guys that I really liked ended up just being Gasol and Korver. So Korver has a pretty good night. I mean, 32 points when you are 52. I mean, he had a great night. That's over 6 times value, so I don't want to cut him short. He had a great night. And as we, he only had 3 3-pointers, which I was hoping he'd have some more because he had such a great matchup with Dallas. But we will absolutely take this. A great night from Kyle Korver. Dennis Schroeder filled right in for Jeff Teague. Please note that Jeff Teague is probable for tonight, so our run of using Schroeder might be over. So keep that in mind. Now, I actually got a question on Twitter last night about rostering 2 guys basically at the forward position on the same team, and that was in regards to Harrison Barnes and Draymond Green, which I responded that, it doesn't bother me much. Both of them get enough run. They get enough minutes. They play, different positions, so to speak, because Draymond plays power forward. So it was no concern to me, and both put up decent nights. I think Barnes hit, 4 times value, which didn't kill us, but Draymond, who's just an absolute freak again, and again, with only 6 points, he's able to put up 31 fantasy points. So good there for me. Dirk did not have a great night by his standards, but I think he hit 5 times value, not even, a little underneath of it. Would have liked to seen a little more from Dirk, but we got away with it. Gasol, a guy that I really liked, paid off 47 points. And then Tyson Chandler, who, I don't want to be a broken record here. When you have a guy who can get you double-digit rebounds, such as Tyson Chandler, 19 of them last night, and I think he only had like 1. I got to look this up. I'm pretty sure he had 1 rebound, I want to say midway through the second quarter. So in the final, basically 2.5 quarters, he pulled in 18 more rebounds. Like, the guy's an absolute monster on the glass. So when he's capable of getting you double-digit rebounds every single night, that boosts the floor. So I've said it a million times, really like Tyson Chandler and guys that are similar like that. And then finally, Gerald Henderson would have been a much better play had this not been a blowout, unfortunately. He had 8 fantasy points in the first quarter. He had 0 in the second, and then I believe he had 6 in the third to hit his 14, and I don't think he had any more points in the fourth quarter. So basically did his 14 fantasy points in just 2 quarters. Only played 19 minutes last night, which is at least, 10 below what he's been playing since Lance Stevenson has been out. So it would have been a lot better if that was not a blowout, but he didn't kill us because he was only 4,300 points. Okay. So that's that. That's the recap from last night. What I want to do really quick is just kind of tease what is going on for this evening. So here's Roto World, and this is, I'll actually refresh it, make sure it is the latest news for tonight. There's just a lot of questionable players, and it's gonna make for a lot of tough decisions later, and we're gonna have to talk about together, because right now I have not even started constructing lineups, and I know it's gonna be very difficult to do so. So let's take a peek at this. David Lee's back in the lineup. I guess he hurts Draymond Green the most, but he's been so good. And I read this somewhere, basically, the Warriors they're 24-2 or whatever their record is. They're not tweaking. They're not going to go tinkering and tweak much now that David Lee's back. They're going to continue to roll with what's working for them. So David Lee's going to get his minutes, but I do not imagine he is going to cut into Green's play considerably as long as they continue to win and Draymond continues to play the way he does. So a couple weeks ago, I would have had more concern when David Lee was going to come back, but I think it's business as usual for the Warriors. Okay, Heinrich is out tonight, which this is actually, I don't always like these, the Roto World comments here. Sometimes the writers take a lot of liberty on them, and any stat can be twisted any way you want, but this one I do agree with, and it's basically Aaron Brooks would step in and take up Heinrich's minutes, but I would really only like Aaron Brooks if Derrick Rose was going to be out. Derrick Rose is in. They do mention it's a difficult matchup with Washington, so I think this recap or this analysis really nails it, exactly how I feel about this. I will be avoiding Aaron Brooks, but he will probably be more highly owned tonight because of the fact that Heinrich is out. Sorry, I'm pulling up the DraftKings salaries on my other screen here because I want to see. I'm sure Brooks is close to minimum price, if not minimum price. So just wanted to see that. Okay, couple interesting things. Okay, so this is a huge one. So this Kobe Bryant news is going to be super difficult to work around. I'm basically at the point where I could not roster Kobe Bryant under basically any circumstance right now. I mean, the guy, as much as I love him as a player, is just not producing near up to what his salary is. He looks, I mean, he looks really old out there. I can't get on board with Kobe with the way he is right now. So, but with that being said, Kobe missed shoot around today, and if he doesn't play, that is a ton of shots that are up for grabs, basically, and a ton of usage. So that entire offense runs through Kobe, as I'm sure you know if you've seen any Lakers game in the last 15 years. So there would be, I believe, significant boosts to other players on this team if Kobe is able to sit out. With that being said, it is the late game. It's the night game. It's an hour and a half after the latest game, after the second latest game. So that's a 10:30 Eastern start. And you're going to have to, we're probably not going to know before 7 o'clock when this contest starts what the deal is with Kobe. If we do, we'll be very lucky. I don't think that's going to be the case. So we're going to have to be prepared for this. And the way to be most prepared for this is I think we take the guy who would benefit the most, which is Nick Young. I think if Kobe's out, Nick Young will shoot it, I don't know, 25 or 30 times. I mean, the guy has no conscience anyway, and if he basically has full reign in that offense, I think he could have a monster night. So Nick Young would be the guy that I believe would benefit the most from this. I would also like Jeremy Lin, but not nearly as much as Nick Young. Now, we'll get to roster construction later, but keep that in mind because we might have to put him in like the utility position and have him available for late swap. Like we'll get to all that, but let's stick with injuries for now and who benefits. Nick Batum looks like he's going to be out tonight. This is such a crapshoot, man. Oh, the Trailblazers, I swear, I have no idea. They're so difficult to predict minutes on, and they are so banged up tonight. So Aldridge is questionable and Batum is out. Brook Lopez was already out. So this is like, they're really hurting in the front court. And I'm just reading what the analysis they have to say is, and yeah, they're basically covering all their bases is, everybody's going to get additional run. Well, Thomas Robinson, you would think, I mean, the guy had a monster night when he started a couple games ago and basically hasn't seen the court since. If you're a glutton for punishment, you might want to start Thomas Robinson, but damn, that is a really tough spot in Portland. The guy who might benefit the most would just be Damian Lillard, who I don't know is gonna have to carry the team on his back, which we know he's capable of doing. So no great options here. I think Chris Kaman could be okay, but this is a really, really tough situation. And if anybody has any idea what the minute split is going to be tonight, please let me know. All right, keep going along here. Big one here. Kevin Durant is out. So this is a good one too. Okay, so this analysis, I don't know who writes these, and I know I'm pretty sure they're different people, but some of them are really good. And I think sometimes you find the sentences and the comments that these people play fantasy and these people are really, really basketball fans, and this is one of them here. So Kevin Durant's out. Perry Jones got the start last time that Kevin Durant was out, but Reggie Jackson actually played more minutes. So Reggie Jackson would be the guy that I would like to plug in tonight if we can fit him. Because when KD or Westbrook are out, Reggie Jackson's usage rates go, not through the roof, but get significantly higher. So I would expect to see him take a lot more shots, be involved in the offense a lot more. Russell Westbrook, if you can fit him, would also be a great play. We'll get to matchups in a bit, but this is, I think Reggie Jackson could be a really good beneficiary for tonight. Okay, Jeff Teague is back, which is going to hurt, or is probable, which would hurt Dennis Schroeder. Haven't really checked Teague's salary yet, but keep that in mind because we have been playing Schroeder. Let's see if there's anybody else. I don't know if there's... Okay, Hollis Thompson is out against the Heat tonight. I agree that KJ McDaniels would see a boost, but I'm not ready to roster him. I think he's still a little bit overpriced from those massive games he had with MCW a couple weeks ago. I think his salary is still a little too high. So I'm not sure I'm going to touch that, but that game is full of opportunity because look at this, okay? The next four are all Heat related. So Bosch is out, which we knew. Whiteside is questionable, who doesn't play a lot of minutes, but it's just shows how weak they would be. Dwayne Wade is questionable. Justin Hamilton is going to miss the game. They're hurting right now. If Dwayne Wade's out, I really like Mario Chalmers. So we could start, and we'll get into this. We could plug basically Chalmers, Reggie Jackson in, Nick Young, and have three guys. Unfortunately, they're all guards. Three guys that would really benefit from their starter being out. So that might be a good jumping off point for this lineup, which we'll get to, but just keep that in mind. Finally, wrapping up this section here, Elfrid Payton's going to start tonight. I choose to ignore that. I don't have any reason to think that is going to produce anything significant, but Kyle O'Quinn is a guy who will also start tonight that has shown that with minutes he can produce. So I've got a couple of places we want to start in my head, but what I'll do is I'll pause and come back and we'll talk matchups and roster construction. So I will see you guys very soon. Welcome back. Let's start constructing these lineups and going through a little bit of research. Again, I think this is going to come up to game time, so I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to finish a lineup in this session here. But what I would really recommend doing is follow me on Twitter. It's at RickRunGood, and I will post. We'll go through and talk about some players here, but I'll make sure I post the final lineup as early as possible. But this is our chance to go through and start looking at some players that we might want to roster tonight. Let's start where we always start, which would be with the Vegas odds. And we're just looking for blowouts, or potential blowouts, which you see in Cleveland and Minnesota. The Cavs are a 13.5 point favorite tonight, although there is a big over-under number, 209. The one that I would assume would be a blowout would be the Lakers and Golden State, but for some reason the Lakers are only 8.5 point underdogs, which is kind of shocking. I'm not sure if they're taking Kobe playing into consideration here. I don't seriously at this point. I hate to continue to bash the guy, but the Lakers might be better if Kobe doesn't play. In terms of keeping this close, that's a bold statement. Obviously, the guy's awesome. So, he's a Hall of Famer. One of the best players of all time, but it's not really working for them right now. So I was actually shocked to see that wasn't any higher and has a huge total of 215. So we may want to try to get some exposure to that game. Just looking around, Phoenix and Dallas with a high total, 214.5. I think that's the second highest today. Yep, it is. And with it only being 1.5 points, the line, you would expect both teams to score a lot of points tonight. So that might be a good place to get some value. So okay, let's start this up and let's do it like we did last night, where there are a couple of really good matchups that I want to talk about, and we'll plug the great matchups in. Let's do it second. So what we'll do is we'll start with value players, and then we'll start with a couple of matchups. So some guys that I know are going to be good values tonight. We talked about it just in the first segment of this, but let's start plugging guys in. I'm a relatively big fan of Kyle O'Quinn. He's burned me a couple times, but usually when he plays a lot of minutes, he's fairly effective. So I expect him to play, as you're seeing here, 23, 26, maybe even more minutes tonight. And he's going to be getting the start. Now, he's getting the start at power forward, and he's listed as a center, so keep that in mind. I think it's actually tonight not great. I would prefer if he was a power forward. I think that's a much more difficult position. So I would prefer if he was a power forward, but he's listed as a center. But either way, when he plays minutes, he basically scores what's the equivalent of a fantasy point a minute, which we would obviously take tonight. He only needs 20 or 24 points to hit value, so he's a fairly safe play. If we quick flip over and see how many points in the paint, which is where he does the most of his scoring. Yeah, Boston is towards the bottom of the league. I have it sorted by last 3 games. Boston gives up, let's see, the 6th most points in the paint, and that's where Kyle O'Quinn is going to do his work. So let's plug him in. So that's a good starting point with only 4,300 coming off of the salary cap. Okay, now this is a tough one, but let's plug in Nick Young, and this is part of getting exposure to that Lakers game. This is part of not knowing how much run, if any, Kobe is going to get tonight. So if he plays less minutes, I think Nick Young benefits. And if he doesn't play at all, Nick Young clearly benefits, because then I think he's the guy that the offense runs through. So at 4,800, this is a relatively safe play. So if you see, he needs about, call it 25 points. Say we need 25 points from him, which he's done 6 or 7 times in the last 10. So I think he's, call it 60 to 70% to hit 5 times value. But I think that his ceiling goes through the roof if Kobe doesn't play or is limited at all. I mean, you can see he can fill it up. 26 points. I mean, the guy will just jack it up. He's never seen a shot he hasn't liked, which is nice for fantasy purposes. So he can absolutely fill it up. I think he's got super high upside. So let's plug in Nick Young, and obviously we like this more if Kobe does not play. Okay, let's talk matchups. Let's start with what I just like to do is see if any of these pop out at me. So I'll go to teamrankings.com, and I'll see the opponent's percentage of points from either 3-point line or from in the paint, and see if any of these jump out at me. So in the last 3 games, opponents of the Atlanta Hawks have scored 34% from beyond the arc and 25% for the season. So those are pretty high numbers. Even if you go for the whole season, they rank 25th. So they're giving up a lot of threes. They're not defending it well. And they get matched up with the Clippers tonight, who have JJ Redick, who is clearly one of the premier 3-point shooters in the league. Now, JJ Redick is always scary to me because, again, I've rostered him where he's killed me, where basically, I mean, he's going to get his 8 to 10 to 12 shots a game, but it's really all about the hot hand. He's got to knock him down. And if he knocks him down early, they just feed him the ball and he'll get a lot more. But if he misses like his first 3 or 4, you're in for a tough night. Like, it's like you're seriously going to find out how many points JJ Redick is going to score for you in the first quarter, because he's either going to score a ton if he hits his first 3 or 4 shots, and if he misses them, you're kind of screwed. So his floor is a little lower than I would prefer, but just a great matchup. He's hot right now. So these guys go through streaks, these shooters, where so he's made 5 3-pointers in each of the last 2 games. He was 9 for 15 against Milwaukee, 6 of 13 against San Antonio. So I mean, those are like, when guys get on rolls, when these shooters get on rolls, you gotta roll with them. So yeah, I mean, you can see he could kill you. He could put up 15 fantasy points and really hurt your value, but we're looking for 25 to 30 out of him, and I think it's a really, really good matchup. So, JJ Redick, we are trusting you tonight. Okay. Continuing to look at matchups. I believe this is... Okay, so this is points in the paint. I've got a lot to say about this guy. So, let's look him up. So Shabazz Muhammad has been outstanding for Minnesota. Corey Brewer has been traded away, so there is, I mean, really no one eating into his minutes anymore. His salary is $5,600, which I could give you a million reasons why you should play Shabazz tonight. Okay, first of all, He scored 34 fantasy points his last time out, and his price dropped. So we're looking for 25, 30, 35 points from him, which he's done the last 4 games, basically when he started getting minutes. He's just been really, really good. As I mentioned, Corey Brewer's out. Let's look at his shot chart. So I have a basketball reference here. This is Shabazz Muhammad's heat map. Does the vast majority of his work in the paint and underneath the bucket. Well, what team gives up the most points in the paint than any team in the NBA? Yeah, Cleveland Cavs. Guess who Minnesota's playing tonight? Yep, Cleveland Cavs. That's just a great matchup. Obviously, all signs point to Shabazz Muhammad having another great day. I think he is underpriced because see, this is what shocks me. I'll never understand this, right? So we did 5 seconds of research to figure out that Shabazz Muhammad scores the majority of his points from underneath the basket, and the Cavs give up more points in the paint than any team in the league. Yet DraftKings has this as the worst matchup that you could get for Shabazz Muhammad. Like, I don't know what metrics they're using here. I don't know. I mean, it says opponent rank per position, so I guess it's against small forwards with DraftKings points, but that's not indicative. So, like, that's even another reason I love this, because I bet you some people are like, oh, like I was expecting Shabazz to be highly owned tonight because he's having a great run here, and I think people are starting to recognize it. But I bet you a lot of people are getting here and going, Shabazz, okay. Oh, wow, this is a bad matchup for him. I'll pass. Well, I hope they do, because we're going to roll with him. Getting a little fired up there, but that's just like that's so simple. It took us 5 seconds to do any type of research to see what this matchup was like, and it's clearly beneficial. Okay. Now this is a good foundation. Let's talk about a couple of other guys. So we need a point guard. We know that Elfrid Payton is starting tonight. As I said, I chose to ignore that. Russell Westbrook with Durant out. He's awesome. I mean, he's really awesome, but you're going to need 60 points from him. You're going to need 60 points just to hit 5 times. I mean, he's basically a lock for 50, but you need 60. I mean, he could get it, but it's so much. I mean, if he just has any one of these games in his last 10, he hasn't hit value. But his floor is obviously like 45 points. I mean, he's a nut. He's so good. But I can't roster him at 11,900. It's too much. I mean, he was okay. So here we go. He was 11,900 against the Pelicans, and basically came up 10 points short of 5 times value. So it's tough. You can't do it. Steph Curry, I imagine is primed for a big night against. I mean, he has the matchup of all matchups here. Now, this is interesting. The Lakers do give up the most points to opposing point guards. We've kind of been riding that all season long. I might really like Steph Curry tonight. I haven't plugged in my projections yet, so I don't know what I have him projected as. I should do that, but he could be really good. Okay, let's plug Steph Curry in. So Steph Curry, my concerns is this is going to be a blowout. I mean, I know it's an 8-point line, which is right on the line of blowout territory, but they played last night, but Steph Curry only played 26 minutes, so he's well rested. They only traveled from Sacramento. I'm sorry, no, they were at home. So they're going from Golden State to LA. I could get behind Steph Curry tonight as a point guard. A couple other options. John Wall at home is always really good. Michael Carter Williams is overpriced. Damian Lillard, I think we talked about, could be really good because if Aldridge is out and how decimated they are, Lillard's going to have to do everything tonight. So I really like him. Just looking here. Chalmers would be really good too if Wade is ruled out. So he's an option. Schroeder's off the list. Peyton, we ignored. Reggie Jackson, I like a lot. Okay. Marcus Smart's getting some playing time. So there's a couple options there at point guard, but Steph Curry would appear. I don't know. There's just a part of me that is not happy about Steph Curry in this spot. I mean, he's gonna need 55 points. I guess I'm worried about a blowout. Is that what I have to be worried about with Steph Curry? Yeah, he takes so many shots. What I was thinking, what I'm thinking in my head is I was gonna try to get Anthony Davis in the lineup, and I could have done it. I think, just because I didn't want to fade Brow, but now that I'm looking at this, I'm actually flipping and thinking Curry might be the play. So let's just look at Anthony Davis, and he's kind of in the same boat that Westbrook was in, where you're gonna need 60 points from him. Now the thing with Anthony Davis is he scored 60 over 60 twice in the last 3 games. I mean, he's really 3 times in the last 10. I mean, he's actually shown he's capable of doing it. Not that Westbrook isn't. I really liked Davis tonight, but I'm actually getting off of it. You're hearing it live on air. I am moving off of Anthony Davis and plugging in Steph Curry, which is pretty interesting. Okay, I like that matchup better. So Curry needs 55 points. We would have needed over 60 from Anthony Davis. Davis doesn't have a great matchup, to be honest with you. Now I'm here talking myself out of it. Davis doesn't have a great matchup, so Steph Curry is, I like Steph Curry. Okay, let's do that. Okay. So Steph Curry, Nick Young, Shabazz Muhammad, Kyle Quinn, JJ Redick. We need a power forward. This is a tough position tonight, so we're not paying up for any of these guys because we can't afford it now. But this is a tough position because you've got the 2 at the top, who I love, obviously, but they're too expensive. Kevin Love's floor is too low for me. I almost exclusively avoid the big 3 in Cleveland unless one of them's out. I just can't. You never know which night one of the guys is going to go off, and they're almost always too expensive. So avoiding them. Millsap is interesting. Dirk is in a very high-paced, high-total game. But it's the second night of a back-to-back. I don't know if he's going to be limited. He hasn't really been good from three-point lately. You wouldn't need much from him. You'd only need 30 points. I don't like Dirk that much. Here's another one that stands out at me. Okay, so Robert Covington, who we've been riding Covington for a while now. It says he's in the worst matchup. Covington's a 3-point shooter, and Miami this season gives up the 5th most percentage of points to 3-point shots. So I don't know how that's particularly a bad matchup. I guess it's all position based, but we would need 30 points from him approximately, which he's more than capable of doing in a good matchup. Oh yeah, we're riding Covington tonight. Okay, so let's plug Covington in there. So that's pretty good because power forward is really ugly. Nerlens Noel is interesting. He's been playing better lately. David West. The Pelicans allow a ton of points in the paint, so David West would be interesting, although he gets underneath the basket, but he can also step out and hit those 18-footers, so it's not like a true underneath the basket guy. Okay. One guy I want to make sure I do want to get in and do want to talk about is Jimmy Butler, who's just been absolutely nuts. I don't know how he does it. Honestly, I'm kind of dumbfounded. Not that I think he's a bad player, but Jimmy Butler's doing everything right now. He is probably, daily fantasy MVP right now because his salary was really low and he's just been really good. And the reason I've kind of avoided him and I avoided him last night, was that I was concerned with Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson coming back that might affect him. It doesn't. This guy's unbelievable. And I mean, just look at this. He plays the entire game. He played 44 minutes last night. Last week, a back-to-back, the 18th and the 19th. He played 45, 43. So it's a back-to-back tonight. I expect him to play another 40-plus minutes. I mean, it's just like, this guy's unbelievable right now. I just can't, it's not a great matchup with Washington. And what's the line? It's 198, but it's -3. So, I mean, you expect to be close, and both teams get close to 100 points. He's just doing everything right now. It's really hard to fade him, and you need 35 or 40 points from him. Okay. Yeah, sure. He's done that 7 times in the last 10, and the other 2 times he's scored 28. Like, come on. He's doing it all right now. Let's get him in. I'm plugging him in because I'm so shocked at how unbelievably good he's been. Okay, so we got 6,200 left, and we need a forward. Here's where David West comes into play. See if anybody else here jumps out at me. So let's see, we've got a little lower floor than I would like in Redick. A little lower floor than I would like in Nick Young. Need a lot of points from Steph Curry. We need somebody solid here. David West is interesting. Here's David West's heat map, as I was talking about. So he does the majority of his work in the paint, but he can step out and knock these shots down. How many minutes is he playing? Is he getting enough minutes? Oh, yeah. Over 30. We would need 30 points from him, which he's been pretty consistent. He's been really consistent. And the Pelicans, let's see, points in the paint. This season are the 3rd worst in the NBA. Okay. You can make a case for David West. You can absolutely make a case for David West. So here's a possible lineup for tonight. I don't know what's going to change. I'm waiting for a lot of news to come out. But I think this is pretty good. We've got some exposure to that Golden State Lakers game, which has the highest total of the night. The second highest total, what did we say it was? Dallas Phoenix, we didn't touch. I would have liked Gerald Green, but now Dragic is back and he's eating his minutes. So there's just nobody in that game that really jumps out at me as far as fantasy purposes. Shabazz has a great matchup. Covington has a good matchup. O'Quinn's going to get the minutes. We're hoping for J.J. Redick, who's a hot hand, he's our guy that I'm most concerned about is Redick. And then David West, who we know has a good matchup. And then Jimmy Butler, who's done it all. So this is pretty solid. I will, again, tweet out the final version of it. It's at RickRunGood. It could be very close to this. It could be this lineup. So good luck tonight. We will be, again, in the $2 GBP, which is the $45,000 layup on DraftKings. And then 8 $1 heads-up matches tonight because we can afford it because the bankroll's growing. So good news there. Okay, good luck, everybody, and let's win a lot of money. See ya.